It's Friday, it's Scottish Football Extra, and that means it's Chris Sutton and Ali McCoist again. Good to see you, gentlemen. Chris, I know you've got a lot on your mind this week, so I'm going to let you kick things off.
Well, I always have a lot on my mind, Daryl, with this show, especially with McCoist. But no, disappointed with another daft attack on Scottish football. Gary Breen talking absolute nonsense, really. It was unnecessary what he said. I played against Gary. I thought he was a decent footballer, but he was a guy who actually played for Ireland after taking Coventry down into what we know as the Championship now. And Shane Duffy actually has come from down south up to a bigger club. He wasn't getting a game down south, and it suits him. It suits Celtic. It suits him. I think Gary Breen has forgotten that Van Dijk won the Champions League. Liverpool, Premier League for Liverpool. He played in the Scottish League. Look what Kieran Tierney's done down south. We can go on and go on.
I don't like starting this programme with agreeing with that man Sutton. I really don't. There's something just not right about it. But I have to say, he's 100% spot on. I don't know, Chris, I found this comments, and it didn't really upset me. I was just kind of bewildered by them, how completely and utterly inaccurate they were. You know, I could understand him making the comments if I felt he had a point, Chris, but he was so wide of the mark, it was unbelievable. It's a great move for Celtic, it's a great move for Duffy, who clearly has settled in very, very well. And I think even Duffy and certainly Neil Lennon have come out and said that they reckon how foolish the remarks were and have been. And I'm with you in that one, mate.
Good. All right, let's leave that to one side. Enough said on that, I think. Let's talk up the game again. But first, a reminder what's happened over the course of the last week with Rory Hamilton.
Former Republic of Ireland defender Gary Breen fears Shane Duffy will pick up bad habits playing for Celtic. But the on-loan defender has already acquired one useful trait in Scottish football: scoring goals. The Ireland captain made it 2 in 2 games as the champions fought back to beat St Mirren. Neil Lennon called a header winner from James Forrest a collector's item. But a 10th straight title is the trinket Celtic covet most. The negative week came from positive tests for COVID-19 at Hamilton and Annan. Rangers, Aberdeen and Motherwell can't provide a vaccine, but the trio winning their Europa League ties had medicinal qualities. Stephen Gerrard's side swatted aside Minnow's Lincoln Red Imps, and Motherwell needed heroics from keeper Trevor Carson to scrape through a penalty shootout in Coleraine. The result of the night belonged to Aberdeen. The Dons secured a glamour tie in Lisbon against Sporting by beating Viking Stavanger in the North Sea Oil Derby. Winning games in Europe is one habit Scottish football can't get enough of.
Well, a bit of positivity in our European results, that's for sure, Ali. 3 excellent results for our teams involved, maybe in particular Aberdeen. But let's start with Rangers because they played first 5-0. Relatively straightforward in Gibraltar.
I think that's exactly what it was. It was it wasn't above average, a brilliant performance, I think, because listening to Stephen after the game, I saw the highlights, and listening to Stephen after the game, clearly delighted with the result, the way the game went, but he was well aware of the fact that in terms of the level of performance, they can do better. But come on, guys, another clean sheet, 5 goals. I think the game was effectively put to bed, guys, as soon as Tavernier scored again from another free kick, good quality. But probably from Stephen and Rangers' point of view, very good to get to 4, and indeed Morelos back amongst the goals. And all in all, you'd have to say a comfortable but very, very pleasing trip for them.
Alfredo Morelos up to 20 European goals for Rangers now, just one behind the all-time leader European goals for Rangers, which is an Alistair McCoist, it says in the small print. And Chris, again, that got you thinking, didn't it?
Do you think Rangers should sell him now, Ali, before he beats your record?
Immediately. In all seriousness, and what I've spoken about it in the past, some of his performances and some of the quality and level of goal that he scored, as I say, in Europe, has been absolutely outstanding. And it is, you know, where he is at this moment, 20 goals. I've got no doubt, absolutely no doubt, if he stays for the foreseeable future, then he will beat the record, and deservedly so.
Are you gutted about that?
No,
Are you disappointed about that? Come on.
No, Chris.
See it in your face. Look at you.
Chris, not at particular tournament in Europe an awful lot. So.
Wow. That's a big head. Wow.
By the way, you did well. You dragged that out of me. You knew something was coming, didn't you? And you kept going. And a bit. No, in all seriousness, you and I both know he can finish and he can score goals. And that particular record, I always felt was there to be beaten. I don't think there was any doubt about that. The other ones will be more difficult to beat. I think I was going to be honest with you, but I was always aware that the European one was there to be beaten.
Next up is Willem 2 or William 2, Chris, as you would say. Aberdeen, another really good result for them in Europe, winning away. Viking 2-0. Chris, conquered.
I think it's been a good start, not a good start to the season with what happened with the COVID and what have you. And Derek McInnes has a lot to deal with. Them back on track, as it were. They're winning games. They're not conceding too many goals. And McCrory looks to be a brilliant piece of business. He really does. I totally agree with Ali on that. I think that he's going to go to the top.
Ali McCrory again standing out. Ryan Hedges got one as well.
Yeah, I know Hedges scored one or two important goals for him, obviously, up at McDermott Park, St Johnstone again last night. I think they've improved. I certainly like they've got a real physicality. I've made the comment, I think it was last week, they've got a real physicality about them, Aberdeen, which I like. Particularly in the middle of the park, and I think in the two youngsters.
They're more than that, though, Ali, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're more than just being big.
No, there's no doubt about it. Of course, yeah. If that sounded as though it was the only thing going for him, I apologise. I did not want it to sound like that at all. Clearly,
at least we cleared that up, Daryl.
They are better than that. I didn't want Derek on the phone there. They are clearly far better than that. But I mean, you're talking about exciting youngsters in the Scottish game, and I don't think you need to look any further than Ferguson and McCrory up at Aberdeen. And there's a real potential for those two to link up and make Aberdeen a real force again, I believe.
Let's move on to Motherwell. Ali, they hung on in there in the end against Coleraine. Trevor Carson came good in the penalty shootout, and nobody was happier than you, is that right?
Oh, delighted. Running the risk of name dropping first thing on a Friday. My good pal Jimmy Nesbitt is a big Coleraine fan. And he's been on at me since the draw got made, lads. Such, he's to hear them. He's been sending me texts about how his team are going to do this and do that. And obviously, I would be defending the honour of a Scottish club in Europe. But clearly, I've got ties to Motherwell as well. So I was very, very hopeful that Motherwell will come through this tie. But I have to tell you, boys, at 9:45 last night, the beads of sweat got across my forehead. Everybody to see. But thankfully, Motherwell came through in penalties. And as I say, Jimmy sent me a message. He was devastated. He was absolutely devastated. But thankfully, Motherwell came through. But it's clearly a very tough night for him. Half time, sitting comfortable. You know what? Scored back into goals again, looking comfortable at 2-0. And then I think they equalised with a penalty right on the 90th minute. So effectively, when that happens to you, the home side would become favourites. So for Motherwell to come through it, a tough tie. Very, very pleasing for all the Scottish sides.
OK, we'll refocus on the domestic action now ahead of that sizable clash between Hibs and Rangers at Easter Road this Sunday. Jack Ross has been speaking to Michael Stewart.
Jack, good to speak to you. Obviously, it's been a great start to the season for you guys. How's training and everything been like with regards to coronavirus and the current setup?
I think for the last 2 months plus, it's been okay. It's been pretty normal for us because I think once we were allowed to progress to contact training, and then there was a progression for us to be able to use the training ground properly, if you like. So initially we weren't allowed in the training ground and players were separated, etc. So there is a degree of normality around what we do now.
For you guys, obviously, you had this incident with Gogic a few weeks ago. He came back with a positive test. Then you went away and was it 2 further tests that showed it was a false positive, and now we've seen the situation with St Mirren and the 3 goalkeepers not being able to play. Do you have sympathy for Jim Goodwin?
Yeah, sympathy in losing your 3 goalkeepers in any situation, because I think if you lose your 3 goalkeepers through injury or illness, or in this case positive COVID tests and being in close enough proximity to be ruled out as well, is a really difficult circumstance for
100%.
We feel as if the players we're brought in today have been strong and have improved the squad, and hopefully that's been reflected in results as well. So I would still like to, we're getting lighter in numbers now as well, and I would still like to bring in at least one, possibly two. I think we'll see some movement out the way as well from the club, even if it's just on loan. And the argument for me is that this is a time to strengthen. When you are doing well, I think rather than think everything is okay, I think it's important to recognise that's the vital time to strengthen, not when you're struggling, which everybody does and panics and does it. I think when we're in a good place, it's important that we recognise there's still areas we need to improve upon.
You've actually decreased the player budget this season, is that right?
Significantly, yeah, by a huge amount. You could counter that the same way we've purchased a player, which I accept. So if you were to add that transfer fee in, then obviously that reduction is less. But I think the owner has been keen to develop a model whereby we have a separate almost fund, if you like, to provide identification and recruitment of younger players that we think will help the club move forward.
How happy are you to get Martin Boyle signed up to a new contract?
Delighted, surprised to an extent. Martin and I have spoken regularly over the past 6 to 9 months when there's been a lot of speculation about his future, and I always felt as if there was a chance. I didn't think it was. I certainly didn't think it was in our favour, not because for any sinister reason. I just think there would be potential opportunities that would have been worthy of him wanting to explore.
Looking forward to the weekend. He's going to be a big player in this game coming up against Rangers on Sunday.
I'm excited about the game. I think we've earned the right this season to go into it in a good frame of mind and believe that he will win the match. And in order for us to have a realism about what we want to achieve this season, we've got to go and win matches like Sunday in order to fulfil the ambitions that we're setting at the moment.
Good to hear from Jack Ross and Ali. Hibs off to a very impressive start to this season as well, showing consistency and more as well, and a lot of exciting attacking players they have in the squad.
Well, they do, let's be honest about it. They look a real threat with, particularly Nisbet up front, who's in the goals. I thought the thing that's impressed me about him, I'm interested to hear Chris's views on him. He's kind of scoring all sorts of goals. I don't know if you saw the one at St Mirren the other week there. It was a kind of very fortunate goal, but at the same time, his position and where he was fantastic, and I think he's going to score goals. I really do. I think he's going to continue, and he could be one of the finds of the season even.
And they've kept on adding as well, Ali. Stephen McGinn's joined this week, another player who might help the squad, a bit of leadership perhaps, and a man that Jack Ross knows well.
Some story that, really. I think I'm right in saying the three McGinns have played for St Mirren and Hibs. Well, obviously Hibs now when he plays. Yeah, it's a good signing. Solid cities in the middle of the park. I think the family have just got a tremendous. They can obviously all play and they're all talented, but you look at them all; they've all got a tremendous work ethic. And it sets them in good stead for playing professional football. And I think it will be a good signing for him. There's nothing flashy about him. I don't think he's got to be honest with you, he's clearly not got the natural ability of John, but at the same time, I think it's a good signing for Hibs. I really do.
I bet Stephen will thank Ali for Ali reaffirming that he's not as good as his brother.
Well, the fact that you said reaffirming would suggest that you agree with me.
I think Stephen might be the first to admit it. Right, you two, stay where you are, because we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a full preview to the Premiership weekend. See you shortly. Lots still to get through in part 2 of this Scottish Football Extra. We'll chat to the guys in just a moment, again after a preview of what's coming this weekend in the Premiership with Stephen Craigan and Rory Hamilton. And this week it was a case of on your bike, lads.
Morning, Stephen.
Rory, how you doing?
How you doing? Fancy a wee bike ride?
That's the wrong bikes. I thought it was road bikes.
Oh, no. We'll use these. That'll be better. You've dressed nicely
Well,
for it, though.
I've got the wrong attire on, but I've no time. I can't change. That's all I've got.
Ah, come on, let's head out. I'll show you the West End.
Good man, let's do it. Rory, wait up for me. Come on. This is a nightmare uphill.
This a wee bit more like it for you?
This is it, Rory, downhill.
Well, Rangers head there, top of the table again. Hibs in third. It's a really important clash, this one.
Well, it is. From Hibs' perspective, I think it's a good gauge for Jack just to see how far his side have progressed. They played Rangers 3 times last year and lost 11-2 on aggregate. With regards to Rangers, they've been mean defensively. I think that's really pleased Steven Gerrard. He asked after the recent Hamilton game for his players to be more ruthless in the final third. Ryan Kent, he's a man in form, player of the month for August. He could be the key difference.
What about Dundee United and St Mirren?
It's interesting because both sides are in poor form. Dundee United have lost 4-0 in their last 2 games. The only positives for them, Lawrence Shankland came on at Ibrox last week. He'll be fit and available. I'd imagine he'll start. They lack that goal-scoring edge. But so does St Mirren. They lack that edge as well. They're now 3 defeats on the spin. It's another one of those, Rory, it's hard to call.
What a win for Hamilton last week at Livingston, and next up for them, Killie.
Listen, we're always surprised that Hamilton surprises us. You know, when we write them off, they always...
Is it still
turn
surprising?
results. It is, yes. Come on, they need to replicate their last home win. 4-0 against Dundee United. Brophy and Kabamba, huge for them.
Right, come on, let's head on.
Let's go. Come on, Rory. Please, you buy me a burger.
Oh yeah, you've got a couple more hills to go.
Come on, that's a bit harsh.
Ashton Lane, Craigs, you'll remember this place.
Let's do. Thirsty work. Come on.
Not yet. It's tight beneath the top 4 teams, but St Johnstone and Ross County leading the way, albeit in not great form.
St Johnstone have always struggled to be, high scorers in the top flight. They've only got 4 goals in 7 games this year, and you look at their front 4, Chris Kane, Stevie May, Michael O'Halloran, Callum Hendry. Callum Davidson needs more from them, and they want to start tomorrow. Ross County, listen, they lost heavily last week against Celtic. I think their performance merited a little bit more. I thought they'd done reasonably well, albeit they conceded 5 goals.
Now Aberdeen and Motherwell had a great battle for 3rd place. Last year has not been the start for Motherwell. Aberdeen are getting things going though.
Aberdeen's 4 domestic wins in a row is terrific. Derry's got a really good balance and blend to the side, good bite, good pace. They'll fancy themselves at home, but Motherwell getting that first 3 points last week at Fir Park may just give them the little impetus and bit of momentum they need.
Alright, great stuff. Where's next? Where do you want to see?
Well, for enough of the West, let's go east.
Good stuff. Where is he? Getting late.
Oh, Rory.
Stephen, where have you been? I thought with all that streamlined gear you'd be quicker.
I'm back for the burger and the pint. That was great, I've got to say.
Well, look, one more game to preview. Celtic, the champions at home to Livingston, and they can go top of the table on Saturday night if they get the right result.
They can, and I think that has to be their big incentive. I think Neil Lennon changing back to the 3-5-2 formation last weekend against Ross County, getting the 5-0 win, beating St Mirren during the week 2-1 as well. 7 goals in 2 games. I don't think there's any complaints, but real tough ask for Livingston tomorrow. Anthony Stokes signed 3 or 4 weeks ago, didn't play a minute left during the week, so Celtic huge favourites. I would imagine will be top of the league on Saturday evening.
Well, it's been a fun day. Thanks for joining me. Fancy heading back west?
Well, listen, mate, I've had enough. I can't hit this side. I'm finished. Here, take a bite.
Taxi! What are you going to do? Hey.
So Celtic looking forward to hosting Livingston this weekend, Chris, after another 3 points registered midweek in Paisley. Maybe not the most convincing of victories, and there's been some rotation from Neil Lennon as well, but do you like what you've seen?
It's all about the points, isn't it? They're playing catch-up with Rangers. It was an important win, but I don't think that there's been the consistency in performance this season, and that would be a worry. And of course, the more the same players play together, then they will get a rhythm, and we haven't really seen that for Celtic this season.
Yeah, we've seen a back 3, a back 4 used. We've seen 2 strikers starting in both of the last 2 games as well, up in Dingwall when they scored 5, and then in Paisley again, Chrisman. At least in that side of things, do you prefer that, the 2 strikers? And obviously it's going to be Edouard plus 1. Ayeti's had his chance, and Klimala had his chance as well now.
I mean, there is competition for places. Maybe a bit baffling Ayeti didn't start against St Mirren because, of course, the talk is that he's been lacking fitness and not sharp enough. Then give him game time. That's the best way to get him sharper. We'll probably see him start against Livingston.
We know he's not 100% fit, but at the same time, he has scored a couple of goals. He clearly knows where the back of the net is. And I think he looks probably a better proposition to start up front with than Klimala, to be honest with you. I just think he's still he's still got work to do in terms of his levels of fitness, but you can guarantee, as you said, it's Edward and one other. Duffy's been will be a key signing for him. Chris asked me before the sign was made, was I worried, concerned? And I answered no, but I was aware of the fact he's a very, very good player and he will strengthen Celtic. Of that, there's no doubt. I thought the marking defensive.
No, but that just tells us that you actually are going back to that you are worried and concerned. Look at your face.
No,
you're frowning. That's a worried look.
It's not. Believe me. You've never seen my worried, concerned look. It doesn't come out very often, Chris. It does not come out very often. I think the interesting thing again, I thought the marking, as I say, was really poor for Duffy's header. Forrest's header was an excellent finish. But again, the goal went behind and no clean sheet there, Chris. Does that concern you at all?
Things aren't quite right. You know, whether Neil preferred... I think we all thought when Duffy went in that it would be, three centre-halves. It doesn't seem to be the case. But this is the whole point about continuity. Julian left on the bench on Wednesday night in Paisley. You think, why not play your best two centre-halves together if that's what you feel? I don't understand that one. I think that's something that Neil has to really address.
Dundee United back-to-back defeats. They've conceded 4 goals each time as well. Lawrence Shanklin, though, off the bench for them last time, should be fit to start. They're hoping that's going to make the difference.
I think it probably will. Nicky Clark did away fine at Ibrox. It's a very difficult job going to, obviously, Celtic or Rangers. And I just think with the return of Shanklin, he came on for about 15-20 minutes. Looked okay, looked sharp enough, looked fine. And I think he will be a big factor. Clearly, I think he needs to play for United this season. And I would fancy United to sneak that one against St Mirren tomorrow.
As we know, the Saints, that they've had their issue. They've lost goalkeepers, haven't they? And Jim Goodwin, far from happy that they were asked and forced to play the games. Similar situation for Hamilton this weekend. Kilmarnock against Hamilton. Chris Hamilton down at least 4 players, 3 who tested positive, then negative. Brian Rice at least saying, look, let's get on with it. We're going to need to play this.
I think he's absolutely spot on. I think it's important for Scottish football that there will be setbacks with what happens with COVID and the testing, and I think all clubs are going to have to be in a situation where they miss players. But I do feel strongly that the game really must go on.
Okay, guys, it is quiz time. As you know, Alistair is winning this one, the McCoist v Sutton series. Ali, I believe, is it 4-2? You remember better than me, Ali, don't you?
I'm not sure, Darryl. I think it's 4-2.
Do you know what I don't, Darryl? Do you know I don't like the way you call him Alistair before the quiz? You never call me Christopher.
Listen, it's a formal thing.
That's
here.
like your favourite.
I'm actually I do call you Christopher sometimes. I do, Chris.
Yeah.
Get that right. Also, I'm trying to big Ali up here. There's a question of sport job going again. You just never know.
Well,
so you keep going.
That's true.
This quiz is all important now. You never know who's watching, gentlemen. Right. Last week we asked you if you were paying attention to the internationals. This week I'm going to ask you, have you been paying attention to the Scottish Premiership so far this season? I'm going to ask you to name any player who has scored in the Premiership so far this season. And there is a long list in front of me. So, Chris, 4-2 down, you can go first.
The main man, Odsonne Edouard.
Correct.
Kent.
Shane Duffy.
Arfield.
Arfield scored. Frimpong.
Hedges.
That's good. McCrory.
Nesbitt.
Deutsch.
Campbell.
Ross Stewart.
Who? Newell.
Who did he say? Lyndon Dykes.
Monroe.
10 seconds.
Oh, come on, you're giving him half a minute, Daryl.
The klaxon has sounded. The klaxon has sounded.
Barisic!
No!
And
No!
Barisic!
hold on, I need the producer to message me. Is it game on or is it game over? It's down to the producer. He's the independent adjudicator. Hold on. It's a correct answer, but is it in time, Ali? Wait a minute. Oh, he's accepted it. On we go, Chris. He's accepted. The producer's accepted it. Oh, hold on.
No, that's embarrassing.
Done as it. It's done as in. It's over. It's over.